Hello there, and welcome back to Tatooine Tableflip. I'm Jimmy, and today I'll be unboxing the 3rd edition of Arkham Horror from Fantasy Flight Games, and we'll have a real quick look at the Deluxe rulebook that was available if you pre-ordered the game. Let's get this thing on the table and have a look. Okay, this is Arkham Horror 3rd edition. Let's start out by having a quick look through the Deluxe rulebook. It's really nice, solid cover. It's kind of a that slight, I don't know, velvety feel. You know, it's very soft. And then there's some, I don't know how well it comes off on camera, but there's some hidden design of the, like a tentacle here. And then they've spot UV'd some bits on the book, including, there you go, what appears to be a very slight graphic that nearly blends into the background unless it's hit by light just right. See that? That's amazing, isn't it? It's terrific. It's a really high quality book here and some nice color, glossy pages. The index, there is a huge 4-page introduction from Richard Lanius here at the front of the book. I apologize for the glare, but it's the, you know, the lights. There we go, it's a little better. Let me just put it down here. Nice, brightly colored pictures. Components. Now I'm told that this component list is actually slightly inaccurate. I haven't compared it to the book in the game yet because, of course, I haven't opened it. But some of the card counts and things are different, which leads me to believe, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, that this was an early version of the components list. At the front of the book here, what we have is the, of course, the setup, with a lot of detailed information, a lot of pictures, and how to play the game. And then as we go through a little farther back, it gets into the rules reference. Most of you know FFG likes to put 2 separate books into their games. This one contains both of those. And then behind the rules reference is a bunch of information about each of the areas in the game, such as downtown, and it goes through each of the little areas for the regions. And then as we get farther back yet, let's see if I can get to them here, we get into some little bit of stories about each of the investigators included in the game. It's really a nice addition. It's a lot of text, a lot of good reading. I've read a couple of them. They're fairly interesting. I like them a little bit. And then we go through the end of the book, and that's that. All right. Now on with the game proper. And here, as you see, as I talked about in the Deluxe book, they actually did, inside the game, split the Learn to Play and the rules reference out into 2 separate books. Again, really nice quality. I love how they do this. They're really, really, really succinct in the Learn to Play, and then the rules references has everything you could possibly need to know. And if you've opened any of the newer FFG games over the last few years, you're really familiar with what they're doing over here with these, and I think they work out pretty well. And it looks like it's pretty much same pages, same layout as what's in the Deluxe rulebook there. Oh, and it's hard to see because the pages are washing out. There's no pictures in here, doesn't need to be, it's just a rules reference to clarify anything. There's a nice index in the back, I like that. And a quick reference on the back page, terrific. Oh, here we go, there's, wow, lots of cardboard. I'm gonna set that aside for a second. Let's see if we can get some of these other pages of things open. Baggies, I mean. The first thing we have here, this version of the game does not include miniatures, it instead includes standees. So we have the typical FFG bases for those, and then just a batch of dice. A huge batch of micro cards. Let's have just a quick look here. I don't want to spoil anything if I can help it, so I'm going to try to not dwell on any of these for too long. Blessed cards, Dark packed. Let's see if we can get these up a little closer here. Well, they might blur out a bit. Let me see if I can adjust the glare. Oh, wobbling the camera. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. It's a little bit better. I think the camera's still going to wobble a smidge. And then looks like some of the monsters we fight. And these are the typical size for the miniature cards that FFG is so infamous for including in their games. And there is a boatload of them. And all of them, of course, have the linen finish on, which I like. Wow, it's a load. Look at this. There's 2 more huge packs of cards. Now, I know this looks like a lot of components, but I think, you know, relative to other games, it's actually, looks like these are maybe the objective cards. Wow, lots and lots of text. Let's see what we've got in here. Oh, let's have a look at the back of these. I think some of them are for each area, and so or region as the case may be, and they're kind of color coded that as well. I think they're color coded to what's on the tiles. We'll look at that in a minute. Lots of good artwork. I'm not seeing so far, with the exception of what looks like the investigator cards there, any reused artwork. Something else FFG loves to do, commission a piece of art and really just use the holy heck out of it. Pull loads more text. Looks like some reference cards. And these are maybe events. Wow, that's a lot of... Holy moly, it's a lot of reading. If that's not your thing, this game might not be for you. Oh, those are double-sided. Wow, tons and tons more text. Oh, those are... Oh, these are the... I see. These are the items and the spells and the whatnot cards, and I'm not clear on what these are yet. But wow, that's some terrific artwork on the back of those, isn't it? Oh, I like that one. You see that one real well? That's pretty good. All right. And then, of course, the investigator cards and the scenario cards. Try not to bring these up, getting them out. We have Agnes Baker. I think she's become much more popular after the Shut Up and Sit Down episode where they played through the game. And Calvin Wright, Daniela Reeves, Dexter Drake, Jenny Barnes, Marie Lambeau, Michael McLennan, oh nice, Mintai Pham, Norman Withers, Rex Murphy, Tommy Muldoon, and Wendy Adams, another fan favorite. And then these look like the scenario cards with some terrific artwork. Wow, those are amazing. Oh, anybody who's familiar with the LCG is probably going to recognize that guy. Oh, those are amazing. Wow. Cool. And they never do, but just to be sure, I like to check under the inserts in case there's a hidden card or a promo or the like. All right, bear with me for a minute. I forgot my knife, and so I've got to use my keys to try to open this packet of cardboard here. Here we go. Just like the cards, there is a boatload of tokens to this game, so we'll just kind of go through this very briefly. Here's all the tokens representing the investigators, and these again are the standard size and style for FFG tokens of this type. If any of you have ever played the Warhammer role-playing game, you'll be real familiar with this. These are the tiles for the regions and each of the areas in that part of town. Whoop, it's falling out already. There we go. Dual-sided. Again, Oh, nice. Okay, so one of my concerns was that these would be single-sided or the same on both sides, which would limit replayability. I'll talk about that in my final thoughts. Very nice. Yeah, I like that a lot. And these look like the street components that connect all of these boards together. Of course, health and horror. A little bit of Miskatonic University there. That's terrific. The Merchant District. Again, more street tiles, more horror, more health. The north side. And then, of course, all of the... Now we're starting to see the other types of tokens in the game. Some of these will be familiar, as in the clue tokens. Some of these not so much. The little bundles of money, if you remember from the previous edition, you know, and again, I'll talk about that a little bit later, but they've got a new little style of artwork to them that I find really just charming. That's great. I think these are the activation tokens. Yes, I believe they are. Okay. All right. And again, more of the same. Bunch of health, bunch of clues, some horror. This is my favorite component they've included. This is actually a card holder, and I'll build it and put it together so you can have a really good look at it in my final thoughts. This is so you can draw from the front or the back of the deck, effectively the top or the bottom, but it'll be sitting upwards instead, which allows you to easily do that. Instead of picking the deck up, drawing the bottom card, you can draw it because the deck will actually be sitting up on its edge, leaning forward a bit, or leaning back a bit, excuse me. But yeah, that's fantastic. Well, there you are, Arkham Horror 3rd Edition. This version of the game is designed by Nikki Valens, taking inspiration from the original version by Rich Lanius. For those of you that have the 2nd edition of the game, like me, this thing's heavy, I haven't had it out in a while. There's enough difference here that while it retains the overall feel and theme of 2nd edition, I think it's a different enough experience that you might want to retain your 2nd edition copy of the game, because the 2nd edition feels like it's going to be a much deeper experience than this game. This has really kind of peeled back a lot of the layers and stripped it down and streamlined it quite a bit. So this might actually be, dare I say, a more enjoyable version of the game. But I think the two that are different enough that it'll be two different experiences. So if you want a game that you can get to the table quickly and set up quickly, this is that game. Whereas if you want a full, deep, rich experience that lasts for a few hours during your gaming session with your pals, 2nd edition is going to be the game that you're probably going to want to get out. Typical to FFG, the components are all this really nice cardboard stock. You know how they are. I talk about this a lot on this show, that I love the quality that goes into their components. They won't get handled too much except for the little player pieces. I wish this version would have included minis, because that's the type of guy I am. I love minis more than I like these little plastic standees, but frankly, it doesn't make a bit of difference. You're still just moving these things around the board and having your adventures throughout Arkham here. Oh, let's see. This is just a small smattering of the tokens that are included in the game. As you saw in the unboxing, there are loads and loads of tokens. There's loads and loads of cards. We have enough investigators that I think the game will be replayable up to a point. There's only 4 scenarios in the game, so I'm a little concerned with the replayability aspect once you go through those 4 scenarios. And I'll tell you why. Not necessarily limited by anything except the fact that there's only 4 scenarios in it. And because like I said, there's a lot of investigators to choose from, but the game doesn't explicitly lay out the win condition for each scenario. So, and this is something I like. So what happens is, as you play along, you're building a little side deck, if you will, that it's calling the Codex. And this sets up the objectives for you. And as you go through the game, you actually play to discover what the win condition will be. And each scenario, of course, is going to have a different win condition. And I think that's fantastic. However, once I've gone through that, I'm a little concerned that once I've gone through it, that maybe the replayability won't be there because I could take other investigators and go through it again and again. But a lot of FFG's games that kind of focus on the Cthulhu mythos, they all do a similar thing. And right now I'm really deep into the Arkham Horror card game, and that has a similar replayability issue, and that is once I go through one of the scenarios, how often do I want to go back and revisit that knowing what's coming? Even though I'm playing a different investigator, it might lean the game a little bit in a different direction. But, I feel like that's kind of a nitpick for me. I don't know how you guys feel about it. But really, at this point, it's neither here nor there. I've just opened the game. I've got to get this thing played so I can give a better opinion on the replayability issue. But if Fantasy Flight gives us some expansions relatively quickly, then I think that's probably going to be a non-starter as an argument. That brings me to the modular aspect of the board. I know that a lot of people were kind of freaking out a little bit when they first saw this, and admittedly I was as well. When I first saw this, I also thought, why do I want a slightly tweaked version of a game I already own? It's relatively spendy. And do I really want to buy the game a second time just for some rules tweaks or a little bit of clarification? And the answer, once I started to kind of investigate the game a little bit, I realized, yes, I do. And one of the big selling points of this game for me was the modular board. Not at first, but once I started really looking into it, this is an incredibly fantastic idea. And the reasoning being, I think, is that once they start pumping out expansions, whereas with the old second edition game, you had extra boards that laid off to the side and they represented the other areas and whatnot. But aesthetically, it was unpleasant to look at, and it was also quite cumbersome. That game took up a lot of table space, and this one, while taking up a bit of real estate as well, doesn't take up nearly as much. And if I have a modular board with an expansion, I can just include one or two new region tiles and then maybe some more street tiles, and this one pops out, the new one pops in, boom, the expansion is integrated into the game just that easily. That, to me, is something I'm really looking forward to, instead of trying to, stack a bunch of miscellaneous boards and other new card stacks and things around the edge of a massive board already. That, I think, is where they're going with this, which to me is a fantastic idea. Let's see. The game is co-op, so it's, like the previous versions, it's soloable. What I'm hearing is that some people think that solo means it's not truly solo if you're using more than one character. What I'm hearing in this game is that you can use one character, and that it plays what some people refer to as true solo. Now, my opinion is a co-op game is a soloable game if you have one character or three characters or five characters. It just depends on how much stuff you want to keep track of, and does it come down to ease of playability, I guess. Let's see. The flavor, let's see, did I talk about the flavor already? I think I did. The flavor and the theme are really very strong with this thing. I feel like having the streets in between, the streets in this become their own region and have their own deck of cards, and I'm not too sure what that means exactly yet, but that's something I'm really looking forward to digging into as well. I think that's probably all I have to say for the game at this point, because, again, I haven't really got into it. I do want to point out, though, that one of my favorite components in an FFG game, or any game in a long time, is this little guy right here. This, as I pointed out in the unboxing, is the card holder for I think it's the City Event deck. I just have a batch of the cards just sitting in it just to show. And in that deck, when you're having your encounters or whatever it is that happens, events or whatnot, you draw cards from the top or the bottom of the deck instead of picking the deck up and drawing the card off the bottom. This has these nice little curved bits at the front and the back in a very stylized little holder. You just drop the card deck in there and you can draw easily from the front or easily from the bottom of the deck. Really slick. I think that's gonna do it for this time, you guys. I may or may not have a proper review of this game coming later. I'm probably actually going to do a playthrough instead because I think everything I had to say I kind of wanted to say right now. But of course, after I get some plays under my belt, I might have further thoughts. So maybe I'll append them to the end of a playthrough or something. But for now, I think that's going to do it. But let me talk about the rulebook a little bit. I think I mentioned this in the unboxing that what I'm hearing is that there are some mistakes, some printing mistakes. Like this gives, in the components list, it gives the wrong amount of some of the cards, I believe. I can't remember. It was something I kind of breezed through online real quick and wasn't paying a whole lot of attention because at that point I didn't intend to actually pick the game up. But this is fantastic. Unfortunately, and this is one of the things I like least about Fantasy Flight games, is that this book wasn't for sale. It was actually a promo. So if you pre-ordered the game, you got a copy of the Deluxe rules included for free. I'm hoping that they will have maybe a second printing of this where they fix some of those inconsistencies with the rulebook that's included in the box, and maybe, you know, stick it up on their website for $5 or $10 a pop, and that way everybody can get a hold of this thing. It is gorgeous, as you saw a little bit through the beginning of the unboxing there. As I paged through, it is a slick book. And usually I'm not into this kind of stuff, but I really like this one. I think that's going to do it. Thanks you guys for watching so much. You can find me all over the socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It took me a minute to get that one. As Board Gamer Blues. You can check out my website. It's boardgamerblues.com, where I have some other reviews that I've written up that aren't included in actual episodes of the show. And let's see, you can email me. It's Jimmy, Jimmie, at boardgamerblues.com. I love hearing from you guys. I know I haven't been around much over the summer, but you know, I've had some life issues that I've had to deal with, and you know, things just get in the way. I took a little bit of time off, and then boom, next thing I know, the whole summer was gone. So I started the second season, and then wham, got nailed with everything. Not a big deal. I'm fine. I'm healthy. Everything's fine. My family's fine. Everything's sorted itself out. Now I have time to get back to the show. So here I am, and I'm glad that the first one is this. Coming up pretty quick, I'm going to have my review of Viticulture. That one I've been meaning to get to all summer long, and oh my gosh, I'm dying to get that thing up for you guys. So you can check that out as well. Hey, if you like the show, hit the like and the subscribe down there. I know that sounds like just a goofy thing to say, but you know, it's what it is. I have to mention it. Again, thanks for watching, you guys, and I will see you next time on Tatooine Tableflip. Bye.